The early return. The return flight wasn't planned. My business trip in Singapore wrapped up 2 weeks early, and I was eager to surprise my family. My mansion, nestled at the end of the cul-de-sac in our HOA community, was supposed to be empty, except for the gardener who stopped by twice a week. As I pulled up the long driveway in my sleek black SUV, I noticed something odd. The gate was already open. That was strange, since I had set the system to lock automatically. The front lights were on, even though it was barely 3 p.m., and there were 3 cars I didn't recognize parked in my driveway. My heart thumped. Had someone broken in? I unlocked the front door quietly, and the scent of fresh-baked cookies hit me. Music drifted from the kitchen, some old 80s pop song. And then I saw her, Karen. If you live in an HOA, you know the type. Middle-aged, perfectly styled blonde bob, floral blouse tucked into beige slacks, clutching her phone like a scepter. She had made my life miserable for years with constant HOA violation notices, trash can placed too far left, garden too wild, mailbox not HOA standard beige, and now she was in my kitchen, wearing an apron, pulling cookies out of my oven. "Can I help you?" I demanded. Karen spun around, startled. "What are you doing here?" she blurted. "What am I doing here? This is my house." Her eyes darted and she clutched her phone tighter. "No, you must be mistaken. I'm house-sitting for a friend. Now leave before I call the cops." I stared at her, dumbfounded. "A friend? You mean me?" She didn't flinch. Instead, she stepped closer, wagging a finger. "You can't just walk into someone's home. This is private property." I took a deep breath, trying to keep my temper in check. "Karen, I own this place. My name is literally on the deed." She pressed a button on her phone. Too late. "I've already called the police." I heard footsteps from upstairs. 2 strangers, 1 man, 1 woman, appeared, each holding a glass of wine. They looked at me like I was the intruder. Karen smirked. "You're in big trouble. This neighborhood has rules." My jaw clenched. If she'd really been living here for 2 weeks, she'd have to explain how she got in, why she had guests, and how she thought she could get away with it. But first, I had to survive whatever was coming when the police arrived. The police arrived. It didn't take long. Within 10 minutes, 2 patrol cars rolled up my driveway, lights flashing but sirens off. I stood in the foyer, arms crossed, while Karen hovered behind them like she'd just summoned backup in a war movie. "Officers!" she exclaimed, pointing dramatically at me. "That man broke into my friend's home. He's dangerous!" The taller officer, badge-reading Sergeant Miller, turned to me. "Sir, can we see some ID?" "Of course," I said calmly, pulling my wallet from my pocket. "Driver's license and a copy of my property deed." I had the deed stored digitally in my phone for situations, just like this. Although I never thought this would be one of them. Karen's smile faltered for half a second before she caught herself. "He's faking it! Anyone can print a document." The second officer, a younger guy named Patel, glanced around the grand foyer. "So you own this place?" "Yes, been living here for 7 years," I replied. "I've been out of the country for work, returned early today, and found this woman baking cookies in my kitchen and strangers upstairs." Karen jumped in, her voice shrill. "It's not like that!" His yard was looking unkempt, so I took the initiative to maintain the property, to protect neighborhood values. And since it was empty, I cut her off. "Empty? The gardener comes twice a week. Security cameras are installed." Her face blanched. I pulled out my phone and opened the security feed. "Care to explain this, Karen?" I showed the officers 2 weeks' worth of footage. Karen using a spare key hidden in the garden, the one I'd placed years ago for emergencies, hauling in boxes, hosting what looked like dinner parties, even rearranging my living room furniture. Officer Miller's eyebrows shot up. "Ma'am, this doesn't look like house-sitting. This looks like unlawful occupation." Karen stammered. I was just making sure no squatters got in." "Ma'am," Officer Patel said firmly, "that makes you the squatter." The man and woman upstairs finally came down looking nervous. The woman whispered, "Karen, maybe we should go." But Karen wasn't done. "I'm on the HOA board. We have authority over this property." I couldn't help but laugh. "The HOA doesn't have authority to move into my house." The officers exchanged a glance. Miller spoke first. "Sir, you have every right to press charges. We can remove them immediately. Karen's smug mask cracked. "You wouldn't dare!" she hissed. "Oh," I said, stepping forward. "I absolutely would." The officers moved toward her. But even as they told her to gather her things, I could see it in her eyes. Karen wasn't going quietly. Karen's last stand. Karen clutched the counter like it was her last defense, eyes darting between me and the officers. "You can't just throw me out," she snapped. "I have rights." Officer Miller sighed. "Ma'am, you have the right to leave peacefully or be escorted out in handcuffs. Those are your only rights in this situation." The two guests she'd been hosting exchanged worried glances. The man muttered something about not wanting trouble and started heading toward the door. The woman followed, whispering, "Karen, let's just go." But Karen planted her feet. "No! This man is a menace to the HOA. His mailbox is still the wrong shade of beige. I've sent warnings for years and now I'm the villain?" I folded my arms, almost amused. "Karen, you broke into my house. You've been living here rent-free, throwing parties and eating my food. The only villain here is the one wearing my apron." The younger officer, Patel, leaned in. "Ma'am, we're not asking again. Pack your things." Karen didn't move. Instead, she reached for her phone again, muttering something about calling the HOA president and getting a restraining order. I was done playing nice. "Miller, Patel, can you escort her out while I change the locks?" Miller nodded. "Absolutely." Karen shrieked as they took her by the elbows, protesting all the way to the door. "This isn't over. You'll regret this. I'll make sure the HOA fines you into bankruptcy." Her voice faded as they led her outside. I followed, watching as they allowed her to grab a suitcase and a suspiciously large box of my wine bottles from her car. I pointed at it. "That stays." She glared but dropped it on the driveway with a loud thunk. When the patrol cars finally pulled away, I exhaled for what felt like the first time in an hour. The silence in the mansion felt strange after the chaos. I started walking through each room, checking for damage. My once pristine study was now a makeshift craft room, littered with glitter and glue sticks. The guest room had been redecorated in hideous floral wallpaper, and my home theater was full of half-eaten popcorn bags and soda cans. In the kitchen, a stack of HOA paperwork sat on the counter, most of it filled out against me. Apparently, Karen had been documenting infractions the entire time she was squatting here. I picked up the top sheet and laughed in disbelief. She had filed a violation report against me for failure to maintain interior cleanliness. Unbelievable. But as I was tossing the papers into the trash, my phone buzzed with an unknown number. I answered. "Enjoy your little victory," Karen's voice oozed through the speaker. "Because I'm coming back, and next time you won't see me coming, turning the tables." Karen's threat replayed in my mind all night. I knew her well enough to understand she wasn't bluffing. This wasn't over, not by a long shot. The next morning, I called my security company. "Upgrade everything," I told them. "Motion sensors, reinforced locks, high-definition cameras with night vision. The works. If Karen so much as stepped on my driveway, I'd know." Then I called my lawyer, Daniel. I'd known him since college, and he hated bullies as much as I did. "You've got her on trespassing, theft, and possible property damage," he said after reviewing my camera footage. "And if she was using the house for parties, that's unlawful use of private property. We can make an example out of her." That was exactly what I wanted. By noon, Daniel had drafted a restraining order and filed charges. I sent copies to the police department and the HOA board. The HOA president, Mr. Collins, called me personally. "I had no idea she was doing this," he said, sounding genuinely concerned. "She acted on her own. We'll hold an emergency meeting tonight." That evening, I attended the HOA meeting in person for the first time in months. Karen was there too, storming in like she owned the place, wearing her usual smug expression. The moment she saw me, her smile faltered. Collins cleared his throat. "We've reviewed the evidence. Karen, your actions are unacceptable. You've violated multiple community bylaws, including illegal entry into a neighbor's home." Karen rolled her eyes. "Oh, please, I was protecting property values. If anything, he should thank me." I stood. "Protecting property values doesn't involve stealing my wine, trashing my theater, and filing fake violations against me." I handed the board printed stills from my security footage. Gasps filled the room. Collins didn't hesitate. "Effective immediately, you are removed from the HOA board. You're also banned from entering this property for any reason. Karen's face went red. This is a conspiracy. You'll all regret this. I smiled. Actually, Karen, you might be the one regretting it once you get the court summons. That shut her up. Over the next week, the charges stuck. Karen faced fines, potential jail time, and a permanent restraining order. My mansion was mine again, secure, peaceful, and free of unwanted neighbors. One evening, as I relaxed on the back patio, I watched the sunset over my yard. For the first time in years, I felt like I'd truly won against the HOA's most notorious troublemaker. But deep down, I knew one thing. People like Karen never really go away. They just wait for their next opportunity, and I'd be ready.